high interest rate hit have-nots the hardest. Although the U.S. economy has been resilient, many families are still struggling. High interest rates have crashed the financial system, set up a wave of bankruptcies, or caused the recession that many economists feared. But for millions of low and moderate income families in the United States, high rates are taking a toll. More Americans are falling behind on payments on credit card and auto loans, even as many are taking on more debt than ever before. Monthly interest expenses have soared since the Federal Reserve began raising interest rates 2 years ago. For families already strained by high prices, dwindling savings, and slowing wage growth, increased borrowing costs are pushing them closer to the financial edge. It's crazy, said Ora, a 43-year-old Army veteran in Clarksville, Tennessee. It does make it hard to get out of debt. It seems like you are only paying the interest. Ms. Dorsey has been working for years to chip away at the debt she accrued when a series of health issues left her temporarily out of work. Now she's juggling 3 jobs to try to pay off the thousands of dollars in credit card balances and other debts. She's making progress, but high rates aren't helping. How am I supposed to retire? She asked. I'm not able to save. Have that rainy day fund because I'm trying to take down the debt that I have. Ms. Dorsey is likely to get relief soon. Fed officials have indicated that they expected to keep interest rates at their current level, the highest in decades, for months. And while policymakers still say they are likely to cut rates eventually, assuming inflation slows down, as expected, they could consider raising them further if prices begin rising faster again. The latest evidence will come on Wednesday when the U.S. Labor Department releases data showing whether inflation cooled in April or remained uncomfortably hot for the first straight months. The overall economy has proved unexpectedly resilient to high interest rate. Consumers have continued spending on travel, restaurant meals, and entertainment thanks to rising wages and debt levels that, despite their recent increase, remain manageable. as a share of income for most people, but aggregate figures obscure an underlying divide that is likely to widen the longer interest rate remain high. Affluent to the affluent to the householders, and many in the middle class have largely been insulated from the effects of the Fed's policies. Many took out long-term mortgages when rates were at rock bottom in 2020 or earlier. If they don't own their homes outright, and most have literally penny variable rate debt, and they are benefiting from higher returns on their savings. For poorer families, it is different. They are more likely to carry a balance on credit cards, meaning they are likely to feel high rates. According to Fed data, about 56% of people earning less than $25,000 carried a credit card balance in 2022, compared with 38% of those earning more than $100,000, Black Americans. Like the Ms. Dorsey, and the Latinos are also more likely to carry balance. Recent economic research suggests that high borrowing cost may be one reason for Americans' dim view of the state of the economy. In surveys, lower-income households remain particularly dour about their financial well-being. Barbara Martinez, a financial counselor in Chicago who works at Heartland Alliance, a nonprofit group, said that for many of our low-income clients, that is inescapable, especially since food prices and the rents have soared. They don't have savings to cover unexpected expenses like car repairs or illness. And while high borrowing costs aren't necessarily causing their financial difficulties, they make dealing with debt much harder. You are trying to get out of the ocean, but the waves keep pushing you back. She said, no matter how much you swim, you get tired. High interest rates are always tougher on borrowers than on savers. But most of the time, they also push down the value of stocks, houses, and other assets. That means rate increase usually affect the household across the income spectrum, albeit in different ways. That isn't how things have played out recently. Stock prices fell when the Fed began raising rates, but have rebounded and are near a record. Home prices have continued rising in most of the country. The result is a growing divide. Fed data suggested that wealth for the upper half dipped after the Fed's initial rate increase in 2022, but it's again setting records for the bottom half. However, wealth remains at below its level. People the Fed began raising rate after subtracting credit cards and mortgage debt and other liabilities. Every time I make a payment to my credit card, most of the money is going to pay interest, and that just snowballs. Higher income households feel very flush, said Brian, a senior economist at the UBS. They've seen such a huge run-up in the value of their house and the value of their portfolios that they feel like they can keep spending. Airlines, hotels, and other industries that cater largely to higher income consumers have generally reported strong profit rate, but mass market brands like the McDonald's and the KFC have reported slower sales, with many citing weakness among low-income consumers as a part of the region. The divergence puts the Fed official in an uncomfortable position. Free spending by wealthy households means that the high interest rates have done little to curb consumer demand, but with few other inflation-fighting tools, policymakers have little choice but to keep interest rates high, even if those policies hurt families that are already struggling. Virginia Diaz thought she was on track for a secure retirement when she moved to Florida from New York nearly 20 years ago, but she drew down her savings and built up credit card debt, helping family members, including her niece, with health issues. Now, high prices and high interest rates are putting her retirement in jeopardy. Every time I make a payment to my credit card, most of the money is going to pay interest, and that just the snowballs. She said, I am at the end of my rope. Yeah, Miss Diaz, 74, said she has cut her spending to the bone. If I want to buy a candle, I have to think about it, she said, and the rest of her family is also struggling. Her nephew, 35, works full-time in the insurance industry, but lives in an apartment in a garage because he can't afford to buy a house or even a car. A friend of her niece also lives with her, chipping in to pay bills. Ms. Diaz practically begged Fed officials to cut interest rate. I know they mean well, but it's not working, she said. Lower it, for God's sake, so people can live. Give us half a chance to give us a decent level of living. Many liberal economists agree, arguing that inflation has fallen enough that the Fed should start cutting rate before it causes more severe economic damage. High interest rate really forced cracks in the recovery, and these folks who are on the margins of our economy, who are hit first and hit hardest, said that are the chief economist at the Groundwork Collaborative, a progressive group. They really serve as a bellwether for what could happen to the rest of our economy. But federal officials argue it is essential to bring inflation under control, in part because it too has a bigger impact on the poor who have little room in their budget to accommodate high prices. If you are a person who's living paycheck to paycheck, who's living paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly all the things you buy, the fundamentals of life, go up in price, you're in trouble right away. Jeremy H. Powell, the Fed chair, said at a news conference this month. And so, with those people in mind in particular, what we are doing is we are using our tools to bring down inflation. Although high interest rates have affected many families, they have not so far caused the widespread job loss that many progressive critics predicted and that have historically been hardest on lower wage workers. The unemployment rate remains low, including for Black and Hispanic workers who are often more prone to lose their jobs when the economy weakens, and the wage growth over the past several years has been strongest for lower paid workers. For most people, the big issue is whether you are holding onto your job, said the C, a fellow at the Urban Institute, who had studied how monetary policy affects inequality. Both high rate today could make it harder for many families to build wealth in the longer run by making home ownership more difficult. They could also cover the construction of apartments and houses, which over time could further push up rents. The result? A generation of young adults who fear they can neither afford to buy nor rent. Chris, 31, had accumulated more than $6,000 in credit card debt, most of it from moving expenses tied to rental increase. His rent in Louisville, Kentucky, keeps rising, and there is little hope of paying off the debt with what he makes the driving for DoorDash while completing a college degree. We don't have the credit to be able to buy a house, and we have a bunch of debt. Either student loans or credit card debt, he said, so we are trapped.